When Eleanor's message materialized on my phone that evening, I froze, taking a short break with my former partner. Try not to be resentful. It wasn't merely the words. It was the insolence exuding from them. For 4 years, I had been steadfast, empathetic, and devoted. I worked extra shifts, managed the finances, and tried my utmost to keep our relationship balanced. Yet here she was, nonchalantly announcing a romantic escapade with the man she once wept over. The man she asserted had shattered her heart irredeemably. I stared at her text, my chest tightening, my palms clammy. Did she truly imagine I would just grin and wave as she packed her luggage for someone else? A bitter chuckle escaped me. For months I had observed, her mobile phone being turned face down, when I entered the sitting room. The late-night hushed tones, the sudden pretext to stay out late. I had tried to assure myself I was misinterpreting things, that I was being overly cautious. But now she had penned the reality with her own hands, without compunction. The sheer nerve of it all fumed inside me. She wasn't soliciting authorization. She was deriding me as if I were some gullible simpleton who would await her return as if nothing had happened. She anticipated animosity, perhaps a desperate entreaty from me not to go, but I wasn't going to furnish her with that gratification. My fingers quivered as I typed back. Don't fret, I won't be here when you return. I didn't deliberate over it. I didn't amend it. I just hit send and felt a peculiar composure sweep over me. For once, I had reversed the scenario. I could almost visualize her smirk morphing into perplexity as she read my reply. She was accustomed to wielding the power, used to me suppressing my dignity just to keep her content. But not this time. My words were not a sham. They were a vow. That night I packed unobtrusively. Every shirt folded meticulously, every drawer emptied without a sign. I surveyed our flat, our supposed sanctuary of affection, and grasped how many warning signs I had disregarded. Within these 4 walls, her perfume lingering on the sofa cushions, the mounted photographs where she smiled more radiantly than I ever had. Everything felt fabricated now, inauthentic. By midnight, my bags were in the saloon car. My resolution wasn't born out of fury alone. It was lucidity. Eleanor thought she had me trapped, that she could play with my sensibilities while retaining me as her safety net. She had no inkling that with a single message, she had obliterated the delusion of dominion she held. The next morning, my phone illuminated with a deluge of communiques from Eleanor. At first, they were lighthearted. Hold on, what do you mean you won't be here? And then came the bewilderment. Are you genuinely distressed about this? It's just a holiday. And finally, the dread. Where are you? Respond to me, please. I didn't reply. I was already on the motorway, abandoning not just the flat, but the years of concession, the innumerable occasions I put her felicity above my self-respect. My stillness spoke more profoundly than anything I could have written. I leased a small abode in Cotswold, nothing luxurious but tranquil. For the first time in a long while, I felt unburdened. There was no perpetual monitoring of her dispositions, no treading cautiously to avert a quarrel, no anticipation for affection that rarely materialized. Liberty had a strange flavor. It was pungent, almost acrid, but it was unquestionably mine. 2 days later, a mutual acquaintance, Oliver, rang me. His voice conveyed a mixture of incredulity and sympathy. Mate, Eleanor's causing a stir everywhere. She's informing people you abandoned her because she went on a harmless jaunt. She's claiming you overreacted. I chortled, but there was no mirth in it. Harmless. She went with her former flame. What did she expect me to do? Send them a bouquet? Oliver was silent for a moment. Then he said something that resided with me. Truthfully, everyone can see what she did. She's just humiliated you didn't fulfill the part she intended. You didn't plead. You didn't contest. You departed. That's what's consuming her. And he was correct. Eleanor had always flourished on dominance. The melodrama, the disorder, the apologies. Those were her instruments to keep me fastened to her. But this time, I hadn't provided her a stage to perform on. I had forsaken her in silence. And that hush was more resounding than any dispute we could have had. Later that week, she appeared at my new residence in Bath. I didn't allow her entry. Through the door, her voice fractured, shifting from fury to despair. You cannot simply walk away from everything we constructed. It was merely a getaway. I required room. I needed perspective. Don't discard us over this. Her words were superficial. Room, perspective. She hadn't required room when she leaned on me to settle her monthly rent, when she borrowed my motor car for her errands, when she wept on my shoulder about how vicious the world was. No, the only time she required room was when her ex-partner reappeared. I stood there heating but unaffected. This wasn't about ardor anymore. This was about regard, and once it was lost, there was no rebuilding it. Days evolved into weeks, and Eleanor's messages grew shorter, easier, almost vindictive. What began as pleas soon transformed into accusations. You never truly cherished me. You're cold-hearted. I bet you were waiting for a pretext to depart. But her words didn't smart the way she intended. For once I could discern her efforts to grieve me without letting them penetrate. She was disintegrating, and I was finally liberated. I immersed myself in my occupation, into re-establishing my routines, into recovering the parts of me I had misplaced while contorting myself around her dispositions. I began attending the gymnasium again, visiting acquaintances I'd neglected, even taking peaceful strolls in the evenings without explaining my destination. That uncomplicated liberty, just existing without being scrutinized, criticized, or guilt-ridden, was worth more than anything she had proffered me. One evening, Oliver forwarded me a digital capture from Eleanor's social media. She had uploaded a photograph with her former flame, captioned with some ambiguous sentence about discovering herself and genuine passion never fading. The commentary, however, wasn't as supportive as she probably envisioned. People challenged her decisions, reprimanded her for disregard, even ridiculed her for pursuing what had already foundered once. I didn't contribute a comment. I didn't transmit a message. I didn't even feel indignant. I just shut the screen and smiled. The cosmos has its own way of unveiling the reality. A month later, Eleanor reappeared at my door, but this time she wasn't furious. She was shattered. Her voice trembled as she confessed. The jaunt hadn't transpired the way she fantasized. Old habits, old disputes, old grievances between her and her ex had resurfaced virtually instantaneously. I committed an error, she murmured. I assumed he'd transformed, but he hasn't. You were the steadfast one, the one who cared. Pray give me another opportunity. I gazed at her for a protracted moment. There was a time when those words would have been everything I craved to hear, but not presently. Now they were too belated. I did cherish you, I said calmly. But affection isn't adequate when respect is absent. And you made your choice when you boarded that airplane. I made mine when I walked away. Her eyes brimmed with tears, but I didn't falter. She departed that night, and I secured the door behind her. Not with rage, not with sorrow, but with definitiveness. For the first time in years, I wasn't chasing, mending, or awaiting. I was simply existing, and that, I realized, was the sweetest vindication.